I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your backs are against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Unbelievable throw. Under pressure. Sacked by Quentin Williams. Right sideline, Usama's got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like you get like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life to breathe into the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.
Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot today. I am so excited to go over the latest Aaron Rodgers news, speculation, interview with Brandon Marshall. Dropped late last night. For the 600 of you that tuned into the live stream that went till 1 in the morning, it was fun having you guys in there. Always good. Who's in the chat today? Who we got? We got the Badger back in there. Kevin says, we want Sap. Let me see. Let me put these up here so we can read the tweets. Lewis says, no OBJ. Pierre, let's do this thing. NY Jets superfan, I want any quarterback at this point. No, you want one quarterback. His name is Aaron Rodgers. Hunter says, so what mojo? We do it every year. We're Jets fans. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm glad to have you here. NYY, Yodels, Dark Soldier, Mojo Jets, Rusty Spooner, Chris Romaine, Daniel Yanez, Pierre Thomas, Phil Adams, Matt, Nar. What's up, boys and girls? All right, Brandon drops in. We back in here. That's right. Welcome back to the cockpit. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot today. Let's jump into the few thoughts that I had, kind of thinking about last night. The interview, I have the full interview. I didn't realize the one that I was showing last night was clipped. I have the full version of it that I'll play in just a few seconds here once we get a few more people in the live chat, so that way we can all go over it together. But yeah, my thoughts, it seems like it's a lock. I can't see any other outcome other than Rodgers playing for the Jets. Now, it won't be long. There's a time limit. That is referring, I believe, to free agency. I think you want to have, what day is that? I don't know. Could it be the end of day today? That way we have the tampering period to talk to prospective free agents. Is it, the 17th at the end of the week, like people are talking about with his option bonus? You have to exercise that between the 17th and week 1. So is there some sort of weird, wonky thing as to why they're not announcing it right now? I don't think the 17th is the answer. I think what happens is they're waiting till free agency. We got selection Sunday for the NCAA tournament tonight. So my guess would be we probably don't find out today. That's kind of where I'm going on this one. I would guess either tomorrow around 11 o'clock, because the free agent period is supposed to open up at 12 o'clock, or we find out, maybe that he's coming back tomorrow, but then he's going to be going to the Jets the next day. I think we find out tomorrow that he's playing for the Jets. He's getting traded to the Jets, and then he's going to go on McAfee, and then it's going to be super huge, and everyone's going to be talking about it. They're going to be like, oh, man, what's this guy going to bring up in an interview on McAfee on Tuesday during free agency, since he's already, figured out what team he's going to be on. Maybe they ask him what players he's got in contact with. Adam Thielen, OBJ, some of these players that have been popping up in conversations here over the last few days. It is really, really exciting. Really exciting. I put a poll question in the chat. Would you trade for Aaron Rodgers if he's only committed to 1 year? Because we heard the one comment, you could be a great Jet, says Brandon Marshall. And, Rodgers says something along the lines of, not if you only play for 1 year. I believe there's a few ways to hear that quote, and we'll play the video clip in just a second here. But when I hear him say it, and I look at the interaction that him and Marshall are having at the time of the conversation, it feels very much like what we've seen out of Aaron Rodgers the last few years. I think it's a little bit of a smirk. It's like, maybe he's trying to poke the bear, make them think like, he's only 1 year in. It could also be, hey, I'm playing 1 year at a time, like he has the last few years, because that gives him the little bit of leverage, like, hey, you better go all in for this year because it might be my last. I think we're going to have him for 2 years. I don't think it's necessarily, I'm only going to play 1 year. That's not the way I read that. I saw a bunch of people posting that on like Twitter and in the comment section. I don't get that feeling. Unless like something really goes sideways, I think he's back for 2 years. But I think at the same time saying, hey, it might only be 1 year, that's helping the Jets with leverage. That's helping us in trade negotiations. That's if he were to come out and say, hey, I'm committed for the next 2 years, guess what? Now there's, another pick into next year. At least this one, you could say, hey, there's a conditional pick. I still think it's going to be the second this year, a third next year that could go up as high as a first if he gets, us to the Super Bowl and he's on the roster at the beginning of free agency or something along those lines. So that way he has all that time to make that decision. He does have a bonus like 5 days after the 2024 Super Bowl. It's a $45 million bonus that kicks in. So I would imagine unless he's going to commit immediately after the Super Bowl, he may want to push that particular bonus back until about this time next year. So that way, or maybe before week 1 of next year, maybe that's how he winds up playing this. I don't know. It's interesting. Maybe we don't want him to necessarily do that because we want to just say, hey, we need an answer right now. We don't want to play this song and dance. I think he likes the attention. I think he likes New York. I think it's all but a lock that he's coming here. All right, let's pull up the video from the Brandon Marshall interview yesterday. I'll play that, and we will discuss it on the other side.
Quick recap of today's event. How you feel about it?
I feel great about it. I love my team. They paid for the number 1 pick. I feel like I gave them that. I didn't throw any picks today.
You didn't throw any picks?
No picks.
But you didn't win a championship, though.
It's okay. Sometimes your best isn't good enough. That doesn't mean it's failure.
Okay. So you feel good about it?
I feel great about my guys.
Okay.
My guys balled out to the best of their abilities. Yep. We recruited an old head, a real old head. And T.O. contributed,
This is a 20-minute
but
game.
this wasn't good enough.
Inside of 2 minutes,
just a couple questions and I'll let you go. But I love the journey that you're on, a spiritual journey, and I'm being honest, right? And have so much respect for you. Why is this so important to you for just like this, discovering who you are, peeling back those layers? You're doing some interesting things in the off season. I want to know the why behind it.
I think it starts with self-love, and I think when you can figure out how to give yourself that unconditional love, it allows you to both receive it and then give that out in the world. And I just really, was introspective years ago about how I wanted to show up in the world, and I did a number of different things. But plant medicine has allowed me to open up some of those dimensions in myself that make me feel more present, more love for myself, more love for my people, my teammates, my loved ones, and it's been really beautiful for me. I mean, it helps me feel a lot more settled in life and to not just ride the highs and lows, because my personality, I'm a very heady person, and I wanted to figure out how I could get out of my head more often into my heart. And the more I've tried to do that, the more I've really had deeper connection with people, deeper connection with myself. And it's a journey. It never ends. You don't find it, I think, and I got all the answers. I don't. I'm still learning. But I'm thankful for the work and the people I've met along the way, and I'm on my path. And I'm going to keep doing, things that make me feel better about myself, and keep searching and reading and learning and meeting great people.
You don't seem like the guy that really care about other people's opinions, which I respect. But do you feel misunderstood?
I think there's some of that for sure, but I feel disassociated with needing to always set the record straight. I think when you're misunderstood or when there's stuff out there that is patently false, the ego wants to be like, no, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. But the peace of mind allows you to not care so much about that, because I think we all really care about how we're viewed. You know, so it's not that we don't care about what people say; it's which people. Right. So which people do I really care about what they say? It's the people in my inner circle. It's the people I love and care about. Those opinions I really, really care about. And the other ones, they honestly don't really matter because they have nothing to do with me. And I'm at peace about that. And the rest is just noise. And I have no bitterness about it. I have no resentment. I have nothing but love and appreciation for all people. And at some point, I'll be a little more understood, but that's not my focus. My focus is work on me, love people better, love myself better, and everything else take care of itself.
Right. How was it meeting Woody Johnson? How was that meeting?
Oh, that was it's always interesting meeting important figures in the sport. It's always interesting. That's all I'm giving you.
I'm just there now.
That's all I'm giving you.
A-Rod.
Little bit of chemistry here.
Brooklyn. What we doing, A-Rod?
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. How
Stay
long we
tuned.
gotta wait?
Well, I think it won't be long. There's a time limit for all
this. Can I break the news? Especially if it's the Jets, because I feel like I'm an all-time Jet. That's fair, right? The Jet can break the news.
You're an all-time Jet?
Yeah.
How many years were you there?
Check the numbers. Doesn't matter.
I think of you as a Bear. Not about numbers.
I'm an all-time Bear too.
Because that's what I played against you.
I'm an all-time Bear too.
I'm not saying you are. I agree you are.
Just like you're an all-time Packer, you can be an all-time Jet.
Down on the
not if you only play 1 year, you can't be an all-time.
Yes, you can. Absolutely. Numbers don't lie. Check the numbers when you get there.
Organizations have history, right? It's about the people that made those organizations.
So you're telling me I played 2 years for the Jets, that doesn't count?
No, it does. You were part of the history of the organization.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So
I just think
Tribeca,
you're
Brooklyn?
a Bear.
Tribeca, Brooklyn. Are you going to be in Jersey?
I've never been to Tribeca before. I've been to Brooklyn.
Yeah. You like a Brooklyn guy, Williamsburg.
I don't know what that means.
Love you. Thank you. Let me ask you a question.
All right, so a lot to get into there. If you guys have any questions or things you want me to particularly touch on, make sure you hit it in the live chat with a Q in front of it so that way I catch it as it goes through here. Things I noticed that stood out to me. Things I have in common with Aaron Rodgers. Self-love, plant therapy. Great. I think a lot of the people in the chat probably feeling the same way. Secondly, Brandon Marshall talks about the mental health, the whole searching for yourself, going through the darkness, things of that nature. Brandon Marshall famously had a lot of mental health problems that he was dealing with in his time in the NFL, and I think it seems like he kind of got right around when he was a New York Jet. I love that he shows a ton of adoration, or at least it seems like that, about the New York Jets. I'm an all-time great. He's like, how long were you there? You were only there for 2 years. Unfortunately, our statistics are so piss poor that Brandon Marshall is an all-time Jet. And I mean, he did have a great season, don't get me wrong. But, like, that's the kind of statistics that the Jets fan base and franchise has kind of been dealing with, is you could have a star player from another team that you didn't develop, that wasn't here their entire career, just setting records for the New York Jets because we just haven't had those players on the roster. So could Aaron Rodgers be the all-time, leading passer in a season for the New York Jets if he comes here? I think it's highly likely that would happen. Now, Joe Namath is the 4,000-yard passer, the only one in our team's history. So I could see a situation where he comes in. And he mentioned, there's people there that have built that legacy or have built up that team when he's talking about all-time greats. That sort of implies to me that I don't think he's going to take the number 12 from Namath. I would be surprised if he did that based on that kind of comment there. I still hope he does, honestly, because I feel like it would be really fun to watch him in number 12. Not to mention it would be a little weird to see him in another number other than 12, even though he wore number 8 in college. So that's really interesting. What'd you think of Woody Johnson? Oh, he's a great person. Great to meet influential people around the sport. And Brandon Marshall, A-Rod, Tribeca, Brooklyn, what's going on? I love it. That's all I'm giving you. Aaron Rodgers not cracking the secret just yet. There's a timeline in place. He mentioned something, sometimes your best isn't good enough, but it's not failure. Is he talking a little doublespeak? He does have that little bit of cryptic messaging thing that he's got going on. Is he talking about his time with the Packers? Sometimes your best just isn't good enough. And I think that's what he's trying to say to Packers fans. He gave it his absolute all. They're at a tipping point right now where it's, hey, look, I need to do what's best for my career. You guys need to do what's best for you. That's the Jordan Love thing. He understands that. I think he's come to peace with that. I think, Packer fans probably understand that that's the direction they should probably head as well. Jet fans, we're just fawning over this dude. Absolutely fawning over him. And it's weird because, it seems like it feels like he's going to buy in. I feel like this is a lock, as close as it can be. And I'm afraid to say that because usually when I feel confident about something, it goes horribly wrong. So I don't want to jinx the thing going on. But what does this mean for trade compensation? Did you guys think he honestly meant 1 year of play when he was talking to Brandon Marshall? Or do you think he's saying, hey, 1 year of play is all I'm going to commit to right now, like I have the last few years, and it's going to be 1 year, however long he wants to continue on with that. But I think that, that's sort of where I lean on it. I think he's going to play the 1 year commitment. You're going to go all in on this season, so that way you're screwing with the cap. He doesn't care about the future of the cap. He cares about it while you're here now. So you got to be a little careful with that. I think you got to be, you don't want to necessarily blow everything out of the water. I think you try to expect maybe 2 years of Aaron Rodgers as opposed to pushing all the dead cap into this year or into next year, and then, you kind of pile on. But I think you retain a lot of your own players. We saw a bunch of restructuring going on this past, last few days. CJ Uzoma, DJ Reed, Laken Tomlinson, Conklin. I'm sure CJ Mosley is on that list. I know we saw John Franklin Myers as well. I think, him saying not 1 year, based on the way these restructures are going, we're stretching all these timelines out for 2 years. I think we're expecting him for 2 years. I think the contract implies 2 years. I think the way he said 1 year to Marshall, it could have meant a few things. It could have meant, hey, I didn't realize you played more than 1 year with the New York Jets. Because he said, oh, how many years were you with the New York Jets? And he said, it doesn't matter. And then he said, well, you got to be there longer than 1 year to be an all-time great. And I think he could be referring to Marshall's time with the Jets. He could be referring to maybe 1 year with the Jets, but maybe he wants to be an all-time great and he's not going to stay for 1 year. I think there's a lot of different ways you can look at it based on the way that conversation went and based on that goofy smile that Aaron Rodgers is saying. Not to mention, did you guys catch the Easter egg? I don't know if you guys saw that in there. I was acutely aware of this, but Aaron Rodgers had aviators on. He's in the cockpit already, boys and girls. That is a lock. That is what's happening. Aaron Rodgers coming to the New York Jets. I think it's going to happen. UK Jets fan, question. Could 12 be unretired and then retired again? Yeah, I'm sure. We can do whatever we want. No rules, right? I think it's... I would like to see 12 unretired, have him wear it, do a whole ceremony with Joe Willie Namath. There's so much stigma around the idea of the curse of Joe Willie Namath. He sold his soul to the devil. Now the Jets can't get a franchise quarterback or win a Super Bowl until that curse is lifted. If you pass on that jersey, that to me is maybe that's the way you break the curse. That's the sacrificial lamb that you're throwing into the volcano there. Love it. Gotham Green says, with legal tampering tomorrow, the time limit has to be today. If it's not announced today, it puts the Jets in a very bad situation. Not necessarily. If the Jets do know he's coming, it may just be Aaron Rodgers saying, hey, look, don't say anything. This is what's going to happen. There's been no leaks out of one Jets drive since Joe Douglas has been there. They've been under lock and key. And this sort of situation, I think the only people that know what's going on, it's the Packers GM, it's the Jets brass, and it's Aaron Rodgers. And I think Rodgers loves that, the little bit of secrecy surrounding him. He knows that Schefter and Rappaport are trying to get all these inside scoops, and they have scoops on every single person in the NFL, but not him. And I think he does like that a little bit. So I love what's going on here. I think Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to be a New York Jet. I think it could happen. We might wind up hearing about it today for the start of the legal tampering period. I think they're going to do Selection Sunday today and let that kind of have its moment. But then free agency kicks off at noon the tampering period, I believe, starts at noon tomorrow. I think we may find out just before noon that Aaron Rodgers is becoming a New York Jet, and everything's just going to fall into place after that. Adam Thielen winds up signing. OBJ, apparently the New York Jets have been talking to him. He wants like $20 million a year, according to Florio over on the NBC Pro Football Talk Network or whatever. I don't want to pay Odell $20 million a year. $10 million a year, over 2 years for $20 million, that's fine. 31 years old, has played no games last year, 13 games the year before that, 7 games the year before that. I'm not investing a heavy amount of money into Odell Beckham Jr., but I'd love to have him here if he lowers his asking price. I think it's going to end up being Thielen, though. Peter Chestnut says, anyone else almost threw up when Marshall said he was an all-time Jet, all-time diva, and locker room cancer. No, I completely disagree, Peter. I completely disagree with your super chat. I'm sorry. I do not think that Brandon Marshall was a locker room cancer for the New York Jets. I think he was an all-time great for the New York Jets, at least from a statistical standpoint. He has the best, or one of the best, wide receiver seasons in our franchise's history. I like Brandon Marshall a lot. If we had him, I mean, look, he bounced around to so many teams too. I don't even know. I'd have to look up how many teams he actually was on. I know he was on the Dolphins for a little bit, the Bears, the Broncos, the Jets. I think he was on Seattle for a little bit too. I mean, he's been around the league, so I know, like, when you say cancer, you imply like, okay, he's not sticking with a certain team. He did have a lot of mental health issues as well. So I don't agree to that. I think a lot of players really liked Brandon Marshall. So I'm off on that particular take. TK Logs says, would love to see the number 12 only worn with Namath and Rodgers permission, just like the Cowboys do with the number 88 for their number 1 wide receiver. I do like that. I think that is a really cool aspect. Like when the Jets feel they have a franchise quarterback, maybe it's like, hey, now you get to don the number 12 or something like that. Green Bean brought up something similar where it's like, hey, maybe every quarterback from here on out is just required to wear the number 12. I think that's kind of cool. It's an interesting thought process, but I like the idea of it coming out specifically for Aaron Rodgers because of all the mystique around like this great Hall of Fame quarterback. He's going to come in and you're going to try winning a Super Bowl here. I love the idea of lifting the curse with Namath and everything with Rodgers. So I hope he wears 12. I think it would be a lot of fun. Mojo says, Rodgers should live in the housing projects. I don't think that's probably going to happen. Brandon Marshall was filthy with the Jets. What you on, bro? Says Brandon. Yeah, dude, I love me some Brandon Marshall. I'm a big Brandon Marshall guy. Nick says, I still think we got to draft a developmental quarterback in rounds 4 through 6, even if we get Rodgers as insurance for the future. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think we need a perennial backup quarterback anyway, so if they find someone like that, I'd be all right with it. I don't know if they necessarily use a draft pick, though. They might go undrafted free agency in that route, and they may just sort of say, hey, we're going to put every asset into surrounding Aaron Rodgers to win a Super Bowl, and drafting a quarterback at any point, while it does provide us a little, security long-term maybe, in some extent, it doesn't necessarily push the we're all in on Rodgers narrative, I think. So I would imagine this year we may pass on quarterback. I wouldn't have minded a mid-round guy, but I don't think we're going to take a quarterback this year. I think we wait, see what happens with Zach, and then next year we draft a quarterback to compete with Zach that we like as either a backup or in the event Zach doesn't pan out, we have someone else, in the hopper. Moose City comes in and said, let's get those likes. Let's get those like numbers up. Yeah, we got 90 likes. We got almost 600 people in here. Come on. Help your boy out. The Badger Trio says, he's huge on history of the game. I don't think he does 12. So that would be, do you think he winds up going back to number 8, Badger? That's kind of what you're thinking? Oh, man, I really do want to see 12. That would be so cool. I understand that's like you don't want to taint the number in case things go sideways, but man, would that be a rush of emotion for all the fans, especially after having like a pretty big historical offseason so far for us. Like, we had the Hall of Fame guys getting in with Klecko, who's been trying to get in for the longest damn time. Revis gets into the Hall of Fame. You have, like, the Sauce stuff, the Garrett Wilson stuff with the Rookies of the Year. You know, there's so much stuff going on. Doing Hard Knocks and then announcing the number he's going to wear at, I'm assuming the Jets are going to get Hard Knocks if you get Aaron Rodgers, but doing some sort of ceremony on Hard Knocks with Namath handing over the 12, like, that's just, it's like Hollywood. Everything about it's made for TV. It's going to get the highest ratings of any Hard Knocks if we wind up getting it. I would love to see it. I know it's like maybe a touchy thing as far as that particular number, but man, it would be so cool to watch. Let's see. Jet Life says, Rodgers just told us his plan. One more year possible with the Jets, and he's out. Pivot to Lamar Jackson now. You guys signing up for 1 year. It's ridiculous. I completely disagree. He's been under 1 year, basically 1 year contracts each year. That's why his contract is structured the way it is, so he can retire after each year if he wants. It provides leverage for him to say, hey, look, I'm either going to retire and you're going to get hit with a dead cap hit now, or we're going to try and win a Super Bowl and you're going to bring in players that I want. That's his leverage. So him saying 1 year does not imply he's only here for 1 year. I do not buy that at all. And even if it is for 1 year, you're not giving up a boatload of picks for a guy that's only going to play for one season. It's going to be the second round pick this year and no picks next year. That's what it would wind up being. And if you're asking me if I would give up a second round pick and take a $45 million dead cap hit next year or spread it over 2 years for 1 year of Aaron Rodgers and 1 year of a really good shot at going at a Super Bowl, you damn right I will. 100%. I don't care if it's Rodgers for 1 year because the pick compensation is going to be tied to how many years he winds up playing anyway. I think we get him for 2 years regardless. I don't think the comment he made about the 1 year is actually legitimate. R&R, I'm in the same boat. I love when any ex-player isn't embarrassed of being a Jet, i.e. Norman, Boomer, thumbs down, and give Rodgers a thumbs up. I really like the ex-Jets that kind of wear that pride on their sleeve. Like, of course, there's the long-time sort of lifers like a Curtis Martin, a Chad Pennington, Wayne Corbett, those sort of guys. But I'm talking like the guys, yo, what's up, Fish? Welcome aboard. I'll be your pilot today. But I like those players that came in and were only here for a short period of time. Guys like LaDainian Tomlinson, Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker, Braylon Edwards, guys that still represent the New York Jets, and the way they talk about it makes it seem like it was their favorite time as an NFL player was when they were New York Jets. That makes me feel like we actually have a team that we should be prideful of. And it's been a long time since we've been in that spot because we just had a lot of rough seasons for the last 7 years. But man, dude, I really like when guys feel or show the love towards the fan base because, man, we get kicked when we're down a lot. Dylan says, why do you think the Jets aren't going all out for Lamar? I think the Jets and Joe Douglas understand there is a risk with Lamar Jackson. I think that injury concern is legitimate. I think Douglas, being from Baltimore, seeing Baltimore not working out a deal with him or trying to work out a deal and him not negotiating, I don't want to say in good faith, but him not lowering his number and the Ravens not being able to go up, there's something there, and he understands that. And I don't think the Jets are going to be in on that for that very specific reason. But also, I think this was always going to be a 2-year Band-Aid fix regardless. It's going to be either Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe there's an off chance at like a Matthew Stafford. I think after that, you're looking at maybe a Jacoby Brissett or something along those lines. But I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to be in the long term. I don't think there's going to be an option for Lamar Jackson here. I think even if there's like the doomsday situation of Rodgers retiring, I don't see the Jets actually going out and getting Lamar Jackson. I think he's going to wind up back in Baltimore next year, and he's going to shoot himself in the foot because he didn't have an agent. He could have known all this. He could have signed his deal earlier. I don't know if the Ravens are necessarily going to keep the same deal on the table. I mean, I guess they would because you want to try and retain him if you can. Maybe they up his offer a little bit from where they were, and they say, hey, look, this is the little bit of goodwill that we're willing to do. Look, you're not getting the $230 million that you fully wanted. I don't think the Jets are ever going to be in on Lamar. It feels like that's not going to be the way they go. Finger Lake says, we're acting like 1 year is boom or bust deal for Rodgers. Carr and Jones signed deals that are essentially 2-year deals. Yeah, I completely agree. You got to look at the NFL in like year-by-year increments. 2 years, 3 years at the max. The average NFL career is 3.5 seasons. Now, if you have a young quarterback, you can plan for further out. That's fine. But when you have an opportunity to win and you think you have a Super Bowl window, you should absolutely push all your chips in while you can. If you get Aaron Rodgers, you're saying we're going for a Super Bowl. You have all these young kids under contract. It always makes sense to go all in, especially for these 2 years. That's what I'm saying, because the Jets are going to want to retain Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Sauce, AVT, all these young guys. And if you wind up pushing a contract for like a Lamar or something along those lines and it's a longer stretch, that's when you start sacrificing some of those long-term 10-year, maybe even 15-year Jets. Who knows? Guys play until like they're 34, 35 years old. Figure they get drafted at 20 years old. I love it. I'm a fan of what's going on here. I have no problem with 1 or 2 years from Rodgers. AP14 says, I love OBJ. I think people forget how crucial he was to the Rams Super Bowl win. Yeah, I really like OBJ. I think if he's healthy, I'm all about it, especially if he wants to take a 1-year prove-it deal, because there's no way any team is going to pay him $20 million. No team should pay him $20 million. Heck, even $10 million for 1 year out of a guy that's played 7 games a year for the last 3 years. I mean, on average, he didn't play last year. But that's just that's even worse than Lamar Jackson. Like, you can't give someone $20 million for 7 games, a third of your hopeful season. You're hoping for 20 games with the Super Bowl. I like Odell as a mercenary. I don't think I wouldn't guarantee him 20. That's crazy. I think that's a little loony. Peter Chestnut dropping back in says, say what you want about Woody. He takes care of the former Jets. He somehow keeps the players around and involved in the organization. Yeah, I completely agree. I know there's always been a lot of kind of hate or shade thrown Woody's way, and there's been blunders, and I think he was probably part of the Tebow situation and butting in occasionally. But by and large, Woody has always shelled out money to go get free agents. When have you ever seen an organization be cheap on a player? The Cincinnati Bengals are historic for not paying players. That's the reason Carson Palmer ended up retiring. He wasn't able to get good players into Cincinnati. He wasn't getting the big contract, all that stuff, and then he winds up going to Oakland. So you could have that type of fan base or that type of organization. The Jets don't have that. We have an owner that is willing to spend money. We just needed adults in the room to make the correct football decisions. And I think with Saleh and Douglas and the evidence of this past draft, I think we do have those guys in the building here. Blade Runner drops in, says, Rangers won in 94 after 54 years. Guess how many years after the Jets, since the Jets won? 54 years. It's destiny. Oh, man. Oh, man. I never know what Super Bowl number we're on anymore. I have to count backwards. Like, 1, 2, 3. I got to get the calculator out. Figure it out. Saucy Jets Pod says, what's up, Ryan? Your power's back on. Let's hope Aaron plays at least 2 years if he comes here. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I lost power yesterday. We got like 4 to 6 inches of snow. And it wasn't even that bad. Like, I feel like if I fart in the wrong direction, my power might go out. And there was just enough snow that it just knocked it out. I wound up having to stream and make a video from my in-laws' house just down the road. Worked out kind of nicely. Was a little stressed. I was like, no, Aaron Rodgers is going to decide he's coming back. And then I'm not going to be able to do anything. Woe is me. Badger says, many recent Super Bowl winners have been the all-in type of team, example, Tampa and the Rams. Yeah, I completely agree. I would say even the Broncos are in that same sort of category from like the Peyton perspective. Anytime you see a historically good quarterback switch teams and they go all in on him, I mean, it seems like they're winning Super Bowls. We got 3 in the last 8 years. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Matthew Stafford. I'm sure you could go back in history too and probably find some other examples, but those are some pretty solid ones. I'll take my chances. Evan says, I'm out on OBJ, especially when D-Hop is available. Yeah, I would almost rather trade like a 3rd-round pick for D-Hop than give a free agent contract to OBJ. But at the same time, I think even more so than D-Hop, I kind of like Adam Thielen a lot, especially if he's going to come free and he's coming at a cheaper rate. Like if he's willing to take, let's say, $8 million a year, $10 million a year. I don't know what he got paid last year, but that seems like the better option, unless D-Hop's willing to take, less money as well. I know he said he would rework his contract, kind of restructure the last 2 years of his deal. Right now he's on, I think it's a $19 million cap hit and a $20 million cap hit these next 2 years, or maybe it's 15 and 20. I was looking at it the other day. I would totally do DeAndre Hopkins, Cortland Sutton, Mike Evans. Those would be the 3 guys I'd want to trade for. And then in the free agent market, I'd be pumped with Odell. I don't want to pay him a whole lot, but I think Thielen, from a personality standpoint, with our young receivers, might be more aligned with what I would like to see. Dylan, Ryan, do you think 1 year is long enough for Zach Wilson to get ready to start? I think if 1 year is all we get out of Aaron Rodgers, that's totally fine, because then you roll into year 2, you don't exercise Zach's 5th-year option, and you say, all right, you got to prove it. Just like the Giants did with Daniel Jones this year. They don't exercise his 5th-year option. He has his back against the wall. He's got to play, otherwise he's out. In that sort of situation, you have, hey, Zach, you're balling out or you're not. I'm fine with it. I'm all right. And then, you just franchise tag him on the back end and you say, okay, hey, look, we'll try to figure out a contract if he plays well. Sometimes you perform under pressure. When you think your livelihood's going to be taken from you, that's when you can get the most out of you. Amaru, what do you think we're doing about Mims? I think he's just going to be on the roster. I don't think there's anything to do with him. You just hold on to him and see what he can do with an Aaron Rodgers leading the team. Scott says, I don't really think that Rodgers was saying he's only going to play for 1 year. I think he was saying he wouldn't be an all-time Jet if he only played for 1 year. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Scott. I didn't get the 1 year vibe from Aaron Rodgers. I think it's like I'm going to be a year-by-year basis, but I don't think the way he looks and the way he's talking, it seems like he is dialed in and he is ready to go. And it doesn't feel like retirement was really on the table for him. I don't know. It's maybe he's just energized from whatever he had going on with the charity yesterday, but I liked the energy he had. Mudvile says, really, the snow was that bad in Jersey? In Staten Island, there was nothing here. Yeah, it was all, it was a warm snow, if that makes sense. Like a lot of it is melted off. There's still a lot not a lot, but there's still stuff on the grass. I didn't have to snow blow though. My driveway just melted right off. Gangrene. Ryan, my cousin played football with Murphy at Colgate, so I had my cuz text Murphy to make sure he makes the trade with us. Good. Glad you're in on it. I'm a fan. Harry W., thank you for celebrating 22 months of membership. Says, being a guy who watched Namath play his whole Jets career, I do not want to see anyone else wear number 12. Give Elijah Moore a Rolex and 70 targets. All right, that's fair. I think that's how a lot of the fans that probably watch Namath play or maybe hold the retirement of the numbers maybe a little more iconic. I mean, generally speaking, you don't give those numbers out anyway. I'm fine with him wearing 8. Elijah Moore, what do you think he winds up wearing? What did he wear in college? Did he wear number 8? I'd have to see. I don't think Elijah Moore is going to worry at all. He'll give up number 8 if he's getting enough targets, 100%. He wants that big contract that his buddies DK Metcalf and AJ Brown got. So I think he's going to be tickled pink. Duncan says, not sure if we do any 2023 picks if there's question on the number of years. Start with 2024 and a conditional 2025. That's interesting. I feel like the Packers would want a pick this year because it allows them to use that pick towards their quarterback that they're trying to evaluate moving forward. If we could get him for 2024 and 2025 picks, holy hell, that would be awesome. I don't particularly love some of the... no, I do like a lot of players in this draft. If we could keep picks... Oh, God. If you keep all your picks this year, Joe Douglas, kiss him. Square on the head. Illegally Beast Mode. Thank you for the super chat. Says, would you give up this year's first for Devontae Adams if we get Rodgers for this year second and next year conditional. So Rodgers is a I don't think the Raiders do that because they franchise tag Josh Jacobs. It doesn't seem like you would franchise tag your running back if you're planning on letting the wide receiver that you just traded a whole bunch of, assets for to just walk after one season. So I think he definitely stays in Vegas. There's no part of me that thinks he's leaving. Would I trade number 13 for him? Yeah, I would. I think if you were planning on not going tackle at the top of the draft and you were thinking wide receiver in any capacity, I would rather Devontae Adams than one of these drafted wide receivers because you're hoping to win a Super Bowl in these next 2 years, and possibly needing a wide receiver to develop and get some chemistry with Aaron Rodgers is not what I'm about. I very much like the veteran wide receiver option for the New York Jets, not the drafted option. But I don't think Devontae Adams is going to be leaving the Raiders. I would be very surprised. John Moore says, good sign Rodgers cut his hair. Ooh, yeah, he does. He's looking pretty good. He's going to be all over the tabloids, so he's got to be looking good. I trimmed up my beard today in the event that we got a Rodgers signing, so I don't look like a scruffy mess like I've been the last few days. Vesh says Alan Lazard could potentially be in the package. Alan Lazard's a free agent. He doesn't have to be in the package. Joe S. says, how do we know we're waiting for Rodgers or the Jets trying to get under the cap for Rodgers? How do we know if we're waiting for Rodgers or if we're waiting for the Jets trying to get under the cap? I think we're waiting on Rodgers. That was the report from Tom Pelissero yesterday, saying that there was not compensation worked out, which is weird because I feel like you would have had compensation worked out before you talked to Aaron Rodgers. If not, that means the Packers are clearly at a negotiating disadvantage by saying like, oh yeah, no, we don't know what you're going to offer us, but you could go talk to our Hall of Fame franchise quarterback and try to convince him to come back. Oh, okay, so I'm going to give you a first round pick or like any sort of asset that's of value when you're telling me to go talk to your franchise quarterback. That to me, if the Tom Pelissero comment is correct and there is no compensation worked out, that's sort of the conversation that feels like it had to happen. Like, I don't understand how you agree to allow us to talk to Rodgers without having that compensation at least sort of structured in some capacity. Peter Chestnut says, is there a chance the Jets really like Corey Davis and keep him? I can't see him being traded at that number. Why is he still here? So if he's traded, it's a $10.5 million cap hit for the Packers. I think they've tried to trade for him in the past. There could be a situation where the Packers are like, hey, look, we need some window dressing. We know you're going to hold us over a barrel for draft picks, but give us some players with some big names like a Carl Lawson, like a Corey Davis, if that's the case. I think they're going to try and fluff up this trade to make it look better than it is. That's why Davis hasn't been cut yet. But I don't think Davis has any sort of trigger for money, so there's no reason to cut him until you get his replacement. Like once you know you have his replacement en route, then you move on from it. It's the same way I feel about Whitehead. Like I think Chuck Clark could be a replacement for Whitehead, but since you don't have, that second safety anyway, because you have Joyner who just had an expiring contract, I think you roll into the draft and you say, okay, if a safety falls to us, we'll take him. If not, we have Whitehead. Once you take the safety, then you cut Whitehead. No issue, no harm, no foul. You still save the same amount of cap space. So, is there a chance the Jets really like Corey Davis? Yeah, they brought him in for a reason. I could see it. I think Rodgers will pick players that he wants to play with, and it depends why the Packers wanted to trade for Corey Davis. Was it an Aaron Rodgers wanted him, or was it a Matt LaFleur wanted him? Because if it's the latter, then I would move and trade him. Daniel Murphy says, we've been a mess the last few days. Dude, I've gotten no sleep. Yesterday, I passed out on my couch, and that was the longest stretch other than the overnight where I had any sort of rest. NYY says, green shirt under that jacket. Is that true? Did he have that? Let me pull this up. Let me skim through the video real quick.
Recap of today's event. Journey that you're on, a spiritual journey, and I'm being honest, right?
Oh yeah, that's a green shirt under that jacket. Green shirt, wearing aviators, Dude's in the cockpit. Let's go. Let's go. Dude's locked and loaded. Come on. Make it happen. Kevin Lowe says, you guys are talking about Alan Lazard and you guys want to go to the Super Bowl. Yeah, if Rodgers wants him here, I have no problem with going after Lazard. I think Lazard's going to want the money, and I don't think the Jets are going to be able to offer it to him, so I don't think we wind up getting him. But I would think maybe he doesn't come here. Rich L dropping in with super chat. Thank you, dude. Says, food for thought. Is there a chance we are waiting to talk to Lamar tomorrow, and if it doesn't look promising, we complete the Rodgers trade? No, I really don't think we're in on Lamar. I get the feeling we are, as much as a lot of fans think it's the right move because he could be a 10-year option. You know, he's a former MVP at 26 years old. Like, that is an incredibly explosive potential, outcome. And I love the idea of possibly going for Lamar. I don't get the feeling the Jets are going to do that because that's squarely admitting blame or loss of asset in Zach. And I don't know if they necessarily want to do that. I still think they are running with the narrative. They want to develop Zach. I think it's going to be a 2-year option. So my gut feeling is it's going to be Rodgers. If it's not Rodgers, it's going to be a swing at Jimmy G. I think Jimmy G may go to the Vegas Raiders. Then I think you're looking at other 2-year options. Maybe it's a Stafford. Maybe it's a Brissett or something along those lines. And at that point, if you're not in on Lamar, I was kind of thinking about this. If you're not in on Lamar, if you're the Jets, and Aaron Rodgers, like, let's say he wanted to take a little bit more time, and we're all panicking. Like, we're like, we need the quarterback or we got to pivot. If you're looking at Jimmy Garoppolo and you're looking at Brissett and you're looking at Gardner Minshew and you think, Jimmy G might be $35 million a year, Brissett might be, I don't know, maybe $20 million a year, and Minshew maybe less than that or around the same. Is there a huge drop-off from wherever Jimmy G is or Brissett or whoever in that line of quarterbacks? Because if there's not, and you're comfortable waiting for the boom prospect of Rodgers because you're not going to be in on Lamar anyway, I don't think you mind waiting. I don't think we're going to have to wait that long, though. I think we're going to find out pretty shortly here that Aaron Rodgers is going to be traded to the New York Jets, and it's going to be so awesome. Jordan Victor said, green shirt could also be the Packers. Fake news! No way. I'm not buying it. He'd be wearing cheese under there, not green. See, Lee says, it could mean nothing. He plays for the Packers. Doesn't matter. He's wearing aviators. Cheese don't wear aviators. Anthony says, got some Tom Cruise vibes. Damn right. Evan says, we have tunnel vision. Rodgers, period. Yep. I'm all about it. Aaron Maverick Rodgers. Love it. Packers simply trade him anywhere for a 7th-round pick. Mitch, were you the one that brought that up the other day? Aaron Rodgers would just retire, and then it cripples that team's cap. But he's not going to do that. They're not going to do that. That would be a very silly thing to do. Amaru, do you think we have elite wide receivers, or should we try to get a big-name guy in free agency? Because I think we have at least 3 good wide receivers. I think we do have good wide receivers. I think Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, potentially Denzel Mims is a fine wide receiver trio, but I would go out and get a big-time name. I think you bring in Cobb just to follow, the backup replacement. You got rid of Berrios. I think Cobb's going to come in for like $2 million, so it's not going to cost you a whole lot. But I would go after someone bigger. I would go after like a DeAndre Hopkins. I would go after an Odell or a Cortland Sutton. Adam Thielen's the one that I think is the most likely to have happen because of his relationship with Aaron Rodgers. And I think the mentality of Thielen would be beneficial for our wide receiver room, where I feel like Odell, as fun as he is, I don't love the personality that may come with Odell from how it may impact our other guys. And I don't like the knee injuries. He's had 2 ACLs. I don't trust him to stay healthy the whole year. I trust Thielen to be there when we need him to be there. OBJ is like a flash in the pan maybe. I don't know. I would bring in a big-time guy, though. I think it would be a smart move. The Badger says, Lazard is a great option if you need a wide receiver that is great at blocking on run plays, but not sure he's worth tons of money. He is a solid number 2 wide receiver at best. Yeah, if he were coming in here, that's kind of all we're looking for, because we're expecting Garrett Wilson to be the number 1 guy. And I do think we want a wide receiver like Corey Davis, who is really good at blocking. There's a reason why Corey Davis was brought in. It was, his physical profile, but it was his blocking as well. So Lazard does provide that, and the Jets are going to be a run-heavy team. You saw how Hackett ran the offense with with Jacksonville while Robert Saleh was there. They liked the ball control aspect. Now, obviously, with Aaron Rodgers here, you're going to be able to, allow him a lot more flexibility than any other quarterback that you've had. But I think they are going to plan on playing really stout defense and run the ball. And I think that's why Lazard is definitely an option on the table here for us. Citybert says, didn't Jamal say he hates Hackett and the Mike LaFleur system? Jamal. Are you talking about Jamal Williams? Who are you talking about? What Jamal are you talking about? Because if you're talking about Jamal Williams, that's a big old no. He loves Hackett. Let's see. Just trying to see if there's another comment in there. I don't see it in there, Citybert. Brian Bogan says, hypothetical, what vet quarterbacks are available next year? Dak Prescott restructured his contract where he has a $59 million hit next year, so that implies he's probably going to get cut after this season. So if Aaron Rodgers were to retire, that could be an option, if you want to go that route. If he's a free agent, I don't necessarily mind it. It's not someone I would trade for. I don't want to say I don't believe in Dak Prescott, but I kind of don't. He's had a great offensive line, great running back, great receivers, a stout defense, and he still hasn't been able to get it done in a relatively weak NFC and an NFC East that has been middling up until this year with the Eagles and the Giants starting to play better. So, I mean, it's an option, I guess, hypothetically, but I would think the Jets are all in on Rodgers for this year and next year, and if it's not Aaron Rodgers next year, I think it's going to be Zach and then probably a mid-level starter, someone like maybe a Brissett or I don't know, maybe there's someone in the draft that they like that year that they think could take over. I don't think we go for any of the big vet quarterbacks next year unless it's like, hey, we're totally out on Zach and we're cutting him and we need someone else. DeJuice Main says, isn't OBJ old? OBJ is 31 years old. He definitely has enough left in the tank. And based on the videos that we saw from his workout, he looks like he is in phenomenal shape and he's catching everything that's thrown his way in like those ridiculous, highlight catch type catches that he's been making. But he's 31 years old. He's had 2 knee injuries and he wants $20 million a year. Guy's crazy. That's not what you should be paying a potentially injury-prone wide receiver on the wrong side of 30. I don't like that. Jets Gang says, Jackson Smith-Njigba going in the first round. I think he probably does go in the first round. Based on what I'm seeing, he's probably wide receiver 1. I know there's Quentin Johnson is going to be a popular name because of the amount of like the height and the size and stuff, but I've heard a lot of like not great at blocking, a little softer than normal. I think JSN, based on the other Ohio State wide receivers that came out, how good Olave and how good Garrett Wilson was, I think you could see a situation where JSN is looked just as favorably as those guys. They all say that he was better than Olave and Garrett Wilson too. It's crazy to think that too, because he didn't play at all this year. He had I think he had 1 game. Citybert says, if he says 1 year, can we restructure for maximum cap space? If Rodgers says 1 year, it doesn't really matter for us because we need the Packers to eat cap space in order to save any dead cap on the back end. And that's because his option is a $58 million option, and when you sign that, it converts it to a prorated bonus. So his base salary is going to drop down to $1 million. So that's like as cheap as you can get it. But then the prorated portion of that $60 million that he's going to get, $15 million of it's going to be, or $14.8 million of it is going to be this year. So you're not going to be able to lower his cap hit unless Green Bay eats some of the bonus. And the same thing happens in 2024. You would have to either hope Rodgers plays an additional year and you add an extra void year on the back end of it. I don't know if the Jets are going to add an additional void year. Not that Rodgers doesn't have void years. He has 2 dummy years at the end of his contract, so he's never going to play in 2025 and 2026 under those current contracts. So maybe after this year, you rework his deal and you would give him the same sort of contract, but you just push it back another year. So it's another $45 million over the next 3 years, and you just keep extending it 1 extra year. It's almost kind of like the I guess it's not like the Mahomes contract, but Mahomes contract, the way I remember it working is like if it's guaranteed, as long as he plays let's say 2023, his 2024 salary is guaranteed. Not quite to that level, but the same sort of rolling contract year over year I could see. I have no problem with Rodgers for 1 year. I think it's 100%, doable, especially since the compensation is going to be less if they think it's for 1 year anyway. And it's going to be tied to how long he plays. Gitmo says, how long till Mahomes wants to renegotiate his contract? I don't know. Mahomes is one of those guys that I could see saying like, hey, I think he's going to restructure a few times. I think what's going to happen is when he does restructure to save them cap space and keep kind of kicking the can down the road, then that's when he'll start getting pay raises, and it'll be similar to what Rodgers is doing where you're going to pay for it on the very, very back end. Now, Mahomes is making $50 million a year. That's still got to be in the top 3 of quarterbacks, 5 of quarterbacks, maybe at the worst. Now, when you see Lamar get paid, when you see Herbert, Burrow, potentially Tua after this year, if they don't want to have him on a 1 year, 5th year option after this season, those numbers are going to keep going up. So Mahomes may want to restructure, but I could get the vibe that he could say like, hey, look, I signed a contract. I'm going to honor that contract. He's one of those players with all the rings that I could see not gunning for the top contract every year. But we'll see. The Badger says, I think once the trade is done, it will be a shock how little Jets gave up for him because just like Favre, Packers are ready to dump off Rodgers. I completely agree. I don't think it's going to be for a whole lot. I do think they try to fluff up what it looks like. So it may be like, the Jets are sending those players that they may have cut otherwise in the trade because now the Packers don't have to, fight with other teams for them. I think that's possible. But yeah, I don't think anyone that thinks Rodgers is going for a first is going to be sadly mistaken. I do not think he goes for that much. Maybe a conditional first next year. Johnston did measure in at 6'2" at the combine, but heard they were suppressing measurements. Is that Kuntz? I think it's Kuntz. Is legit 6'8", and the combine had him at 6'6". I'm gonna go off the combine numbers. That feels like the most accurate way to grade everyone because everyone's being measured by the same people. OBJ requesting 20 million is like Mayfield requesting 47. Yeah, that's I guess kind of the same mindset, right? Like if you say Odell and $20 million, I don't know where $20 million ranks on wide receiver contracts. It's got to be, top 5 or 10. Baker Mayfield's not getting a top 10 quarterback contract. I agree. It's something similar to that. Lewis, Ryan, you should do a stream with Tom Grassi, very knowledgeable Packers YouTuber. I love Tom Grassi. I'm a big Tom Grassi fan. I actually did reach out to him, trying to talk to him, but he's got like 500,000 subscribers. He's not going to talk to me. Anyone who has any sort of contact with Tom Grassi, I'd love to collab with him. I think he's a fantastic YouTuber. I was watching his Packers fan, how everyone's feeling about the Rodgers thing for the whole offseason. If you haven't seen that, you should definitely watch it. He dropped it, I think it was yesterday. It's really funny. I'm a big Tom Grassi guy. Him and Brandon Perna. I was watching Perna first, and then I stumbled across Grassi, and then I saw them doing the GPS podcast, which I think is really cool. I think they're 2 of my favorite sport YouTubers. Duncan says, assuming no restructure and no guarantee, no agreement, Green Bay eats money. If Rodgers plays 1 year only, what's our cap hit year by year? So worst case scenario. So the worst case scenario is we get a $45 million dead cap hit after this season if Rodgers retires. Now, there's a $45 million bonus that has to be paid out 5 days after the Super Bowl. So I would imagine if there's a situation where Rodgers really thinks he's only going to play the 1 year, they would move that bonus to a later date so that way he has time to decide if he wants to retire. But assuming that bonus does not get paid out and he's only going to play the 1 year, it would be a $45 million dead cap hit because of the $60 million option he's getting this year. There's 4 years left on his contract, so it's going to be $15 million, $15 million, $15 million, $15 million that gets spread over these next 4 years. So he's got the $15 million contract this year, plus the $1 million base pay. So it's like almost $16 million this year. And then that 15, 15, 15 of the remaining 3 years is what gets stacked up as the dead cap hit after this season. Now, if you were to have him restructure that, push it to a later date, and he decides to retire, then you would spread that cap hit over 2024 and 2025. And I believe that would be about, I don't know if it's an even split, if it's like 22.5 and 22.5 million dead cap in each of those 2 years, or if it would be like a 15 million and then 30 million dead cap in the 2 years. It's sort of, I'm a little confused on that aspect of it. If he plays 2 years, then that next option does kick in. So now if you're thinking about it and you have the $15 million per year from that first prorated bonus that he would get this season, plus the $45 million bonus that he's going to get for next year, that would be $15 million, $15 million, $15 million spread over those final 3 years. That's where you get the $32 million cap hit for Aaron Rodgers in 2024. And that's where you get the 30 and 30 to an equal for a total of $60 million dead cap hit after 2 years. So that's, if he plays 2 years, it's a $60 million dead cap hit that you can split over 2 years, assuming a June 2nd retirement. And if he plays 1 year, it's a $45 million. So every year he plays, you would expect probably a $15 million additional cap hit. Like if he wanted to play a third year, you're probably talking about some like absurd cap hit that third season. So that's where I think it's probably 2 years, just because the structure of the contract. Man, I love contracts. I'm a big fan of breaking that stuff down. Let's see. Brian Bogan drops in, says, deals taking so long because Rodgers wants to be paid in NFTs and Bitcoin. The conversation is tricky. That'd be pretty funny. Jacob Finnegan says, Ryan has to stream until the news breaks. I'm going to plan to stream until the baby wakes up, which I still don't hear her. So she's asleep. She wasn't feeling so good. She was a little under the weather yesterday. Little runny nose. Ray Parker, how do you feel about Ryan Kelly, the Colts center, being put on the trade block and could possibly be released? Ooh, okay. I did not know this. Let's take a look and see what his salary cap hit is, because that will be an interesting conversation. All right, Ryan Kelly, 30 years old. He's due $12 million. If traded for, he would be a $10.1 million cap hit this year and a $12.3 million cap hit next year. March 19th, he does have a $1 million roster bonus due, so that would be, was it Sunday? A week from today. So if they don't want to pay him that $1 million bonus, roster bonus, they'll cut him. Now, according to Over the Cap, they value his production this past year. He was getting paid an average of $12 million a year. He performed at a $5 million per year valuation. I would say I'm not thrilled with that, I guess. If they think he can bounce back, look, I trust Joe Douglas on the center front. I would like a veteran center. I don't know if that's necessarily the guy, but it's possible. Ben Jones is another one that people are talking about from the Titans because we have their offensive line coach here. I think that makes maybe a little more sense than Ryan Kelly. Actually, I should look up. Let's see what did Ben Jones. Let's see how he ranked. Oh, they don't even have his valuation right now because he's not under contract because he got cut. All right. So his base pay last year was $1.1 million. He had a cap hit of $3 million. So he's going to be pretty cheap. If you wind up bringing him in, he's probably going to be like around $5 million a year. $5 to $6 million a year. I would be good with Ben Jones. I think that's a nice, cheap alternative that could know what we'd like to do on offense, possibly. Vincent says, what if Rodgers retires and screws us? We end up overpaying for Garoppolo. I don't think we're going to overpay. I think Joe Douglas has his numbers, and I think it's probably I think he's going to stick to that. I don't know if Garoppolo necessarily picks us either. I think he's going to go to Vegas. Franco says, what's your thoughts on Rodgers' option bonus? $58.3 million guaranteed, must be exercised between the 17th and the 1st. This may not happen until March 17th. Thoughts? I mean, maybe they say it's not official till then, but I saw this posted last night, and I don't believe that's true at all, because if that were the case, the Packers would currently have a $60 million cap hit on their roster for Aaron Rodgers, and they'd be wildly over the salary cap. They'd have to gut the entire team. So I don't believe that's true. Really, you have to get under the cap by 4 p.m. on Wednesday. But if if you have some sort of structure in that kind of contract, there's usually like a grace period. You usually have about a week to reconcile some issues outside of like this particular moment in time. I don't think that's a correct statement there. But I do know it does have to be exercised between the 17th and the 1st, which will then drop his cap hit. But I don't think the Jets necessarily have to clear that amount of cap space by that point. I think you could agree to it in principle, like you've seen with a bunch of other contracts. Like you saw Alex Smith get traded from the Chiefs to the Washington Commanders, and that happened prior to it actually becoming official and announced. So I don't think that's a thing. I don't think it's a concern, rather. R.A. Chemist says, the money should matter. Let Woody pay it. It's just the cap number. The cap number can be manipulated. It can, but it depends how long you want to push it off. With signing bonus, it gets stretched over the duration of the contract, and if you keep guaranteeing money and you keep pushing it off, it's going to impact you at some point. We're just okay with it impacting us after 2 seasons, or maybe after 1 season. When you look at the Bucs, they did the same thing with Tom Brady. They pushed off those cap hits, they had those void years, and now they're going to have to gut a lot of their team. They're going to lose Mike Evans, they may lose Chris Godwin, they may be stripping it down pretty good there. So while it can be manipulated, and I do feel like the cap is fake to an extent, with Rodgers in particular, you don't want to get too creative with stuff, because it could impact your stars on the back end. We need a poll asking if Brandon Marshall is considered an all-time Jet. There is a debate on Gangrene Nation. A lot think no, a lot think yes. Ooh, okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to end the poll. Would you trade for Aaron Rodgers if he's only committed for 1 year? You guys voted 63% said yes, you would do it. 36% said no. So let's change the poll. We're going to say, is B. Marshall an all-time Jet? I'm curious to see how you guys feel about that, because a lot of people feel like all-time Jet needs to be a long-term Jet. Some all-time Jets, some fans are going to say, hey, well, he has records with us. He is in our history. He is an all-time great season for the New York Jets. That is an all-time great. I would argue I do think Marshall's an all-time great Jet. I thought we had a really great 2 seasons from him, and he had his best season of his career, I believe, in green and white. So I like Brandon Marshall. I would put him up there. See, there's Blade Runner. Brandon Marshall is one of the best single seasons as a Jet wide receiver. I guess that makes him an all-time Jet. I think so. I think that's kind of where you're at. When you have a history like we have, where you don't have a lot of all-time greats, maybe that's a slight, because you don't want to we're not saying he's better than the great Jet wide receivers, but he did have an all-time great season. So that's where I would go with that. People on Instagram make me laugh. All this to go 7-10. We just want 7-10 with the worst quarterback room. Casuals are the best. Yeah, some people that don't want Aaron Rodgers are off their friggin' rockers. Jonathan Doctor, since Rodgers is following Favre's career path, will he be a Jet, get caught in a sexting scandal, then play for the Vikings? Not sure if that was the right order. Yeah, I don't remember. I think the sexting stuff probably happened. I don't know. Yeah, I bet we found out about it. We definitely found out about it because I don't know if he was on the Vikings already, but I remember him playing back in New York, or a Jet fan maybe going out to Minnesota wearing a number 4 jersey, but instead of it saying Favre at the top, it said Inches. So he was definitely on the Vikings when that sex scandal came out. Yeah, hopefully Rodgers is not taking welfare money either. That would be a no-go. I think Rodgers can come here and do what Favre did not do. I think he can win a Super Bowl here. I think we would have won a Super Bowl with Favre had we not gotten hurt. Up, and away says, what's up, Ryan? Why is this taking so long? We were better off with Carr. I hate the drama that comes with Aaron Rodgers. I have a Jet feeling something bad is going to happen. I share that same concern. I am very pessimistic, and I don't want to believe something's 100% going to happen until it actually is signed, sealed, and delivered. We've seen it before. We think this person's 100% going to be a Bronco last year. Well, he re-signed with the Green Bay Packers. Oh, I don't know. I want to see it on the dotted line before I get excited. I'm ramped up and I think it's really going to happen. I'm like 100%. I'm as close to 100% sure without saying 100% sure, because I know once I say 100% sure, things are going to go wrong. Will you buy a Rodgers jersey, and what color? I'd like my next jersey to be the white jersey. I was kind of planning to get an Elijah Vera Tucker jersey as my next one. Would I get a Rodgers one? If Rodgers wears 12, I think I'll get like a Namath jersey. I don't have a Namath jersey yet. I should get one of those. I don't know if I'll buy a Rodgers jersey. I may. I like the non-quarterback numbers. I feel like everyone kind of gets the quarterback number, which is fine. There's no issue with that. But I really do like I like the linemen a lot, specifically Mangold. Some of the guys that maybe don't like. I like the shelf life. Like Rodgers, if he's only here for a year, do I want to spend $120 on a Rodgers jersey? Maybe. I have a Favre jersey, so I did that before. So who knows? But white would be the color I'd go with. Blade Runner says, I think Brandon Marshall is a good dude and was a terrific Jet. He has loyalty to us, just like LaDainian Tomlinson does. I got love for any player that loves our team. I'm on the same wavelength, Blade Runner. When we see guys talk highly about our teams after they leave and they've only been here for such a small amount of time, it really makes me happy, makes me proud to be a Jet fan. Jonathan says, AR-12, a big playoff run, and he runs it back one more year. I'm cool with that. Ryan, you have to make a new wide receiver 1 with cheese sauce shirt. Ooh, that's a great idea. I'm definitely going to do that when he comes, bro, and send it to me to add to my collection. Jonathan, reach out to me if it happens. Because of that idea, I will send you a cheese-covered wide receiver 1 shirt. That would be really cool. Should I put little like Swiss cheese kind of hole or indentation markers in the sauce, or just a yellow sauce? I think maybe just yellow sauce. Cheesy. I love that. That's a good idea. City Bert. Cap explodes 3rd year with YouTube, Amazon, and gambling numbers. Yeah, I'm not as concerned with the Rodgers cap hits by any means. I would definitely do it. I like his current contract. I have no issues with his current contract. But if Douglas thinks he can make the Packers eat some of it, why not? It's such a game of finances that if you can save a penny here or there, it's probably worth it. Thank you, Rich. Hit that like for Flying Ryan. Aha. When I get sunburn, well, Becca calls me Pork Fried Ryan. Oh, geez. Merlin says, Ryan, UK fan here. You, sir, are a legend, doing so much content for us this week. A tip of the cap to you, sir. Thank you. Much appreciated. I hope this news drops today because I got work tomorrow, so I got to figure out what I'm doing there. I'd want to be able to run home, and I'm not too far away. I'm like a half hour from home, so maybe I can make that work. If A-Rod joins the Jets, I can't wait to see the YouTube thumbnail. Dude, I'm gonna lose my cool. I have everything queued up. I have the oh no situation and I have the oh happy situation, sort of both thumbnails in the event, whichever way happens, I can immediately go live with it. So I'm prepared. Brian Bogan says, poll depends on your age, I think. Our generation highlights those 2 seasons, but older fans might just seem like a flash in the pan. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think because of, maybe fans that are like 35 years and younger didn't really get to see extended careers from wide receivers. Like, you're probably talking guys like Santana Moss, Lavernius Coles, Wayne Corbett, Jericho Cotchery. And when your frame of reference is those guys, because, you had Keyshawn Johnson for a handful of years there before he was traded. Marshall and Decker, those guys, I can understand why fans hold them in a higher regard. So this does make sense to me, Brian. I think you're right on that. Citybird says, Jordan Love, 2035, proof of the Matrix then. Yeah, if we get Jordan Love in 2035, or there's even any sort of rumors that might happen, there's no way we're living in the legit timeline. There's got to be some other thing going on. We're in the simulation. Moose City says, Marshall and Fitz year was one of the better years we have had in the last 10 years. I think of him as a great. He also always has the Jets back. Yeah, that's my thing. Like, if guys are going to have your back, I'm a big fan of it. I like that. I want to talk to you, Mr. Bucks Nation. Big Boss, you have been grinding out the content. Thank you. Much appreciated. I want to hear from you. I want to see your comment pop up next. I'll throw it on the screen. But how do you guys feel being a Bucks YouTuber? If you guys don't subscribe to Mr. Bucks Nation, you should totally do that. But how do you feel as a Bucks fan, how everything played out with Brady? You guys got the Super Bowl. You got a lot of dead cap coming now. It seems like there might be a little bit of gutting the team at this point. The Jets are going to be in a similar situation, assuming we wind up with Aaron Rodgers. Do you think it's worth it? Or do you think, maybe there's a little bit of regret at all? I tend to think if you win a Super Bowl, I don't care if he's here for 1 year, I'm over the moon. That's my thought process. Nick says, Coles, Corbett, Tune before Marshall. Yeah, that's fine. But I'm not saying he's the best receiver of all time. You could say he's an all-time Jet receiver without him necessarily being the best Jets wide receiver. He had the best single-season Jet wide receiver season. Snowball says 5 minutes until the announcement. That would be great, right? Yeah, that would be the 12/12, March 12th. Oh, man. Maybe if that happened, that would be cool. That would be really neat. I hope that's the deadline he was talking about. I'm going to lose my damn bananas. as Boy Green would say, I'm going to lose my gosh damn bananas. Joe S. says, Ryan, you should do a 24-hour stream marathon. Yeah, so that's something I've had in the works for a few years now. I've been kind of kicking around the idea of I want to do the 24-hour stream at some point. I don't know when I'll do it, but I want something to happen first and then I do it. So maybe we hit a certain amount of members on the channel. If I don't know what we're at right now, but if we have X amount of members that commit to the channel, via $2 membership or something like that, maybe I'll do a 24-hour stream. I'll get a bunch of guests on. We'll do some game streams, something like that. It's something I've always wanted to do. Just never have actually put it together yet. Jet Simulations, good looks. I have to update the Tankathon slide. That's right. The number 1 pick got switched, and I did not do that yet. Citybird says, not apples to apples with the Bucks and the Rams. They won in the last 20 years. We are more than twice that. Yeah, good point, right? It is. I think it's comparable from the quarterback perspective, but the impact that it would have on the actual fan base and the city and the franchise would be even more amplified than what we saw from those other Super Bowls. And that's not to take anything away from those Super Bowls, but I do think there's a little bit of that here for us. Mr. Buck Nation says, I think it is absolutely worth it if you win a Super Bowl. That's the goal for teams. So you have a chance to go out and get one of the best guys in the league. When you are ready to win, you do it. Yeah, I'm on the same wavelength, dude. 100%. That's someone that saw them go all in on Brady, saw all the the winning and everything. I think the Jets win a Super Bowl if Rodgers comes here. I really do. Muffile says, Jeremy Fowler reports the Colts center Ryan Kelly is available via trade or release should the Jets pounce on him. I just pulled up his valuation from last year. Over the cap valued him at $5 million. So that's the level of quality play that you seemingly might be getting out of him. I'm going to trust Joe Douglas with whatever offensive lineman he winds up bringing in. I would like a vet center, though, preferably. Rocco says we have little history, so we have to respect those that built what little we have, not guys that were here for 2 years. I think you can celebrate the guys that were here for 2 years without taking anything away from the historical greats. It's fine to have a great season with Brandon Marshall and recognize that while also recognizing all our greats of the past. Dave says, why hype this up so much? If you're gonna sign, just sign. Like I said last time, he's playing games. I'd rather have him win games than play games. Yeah, but it's also part of the money, dude. The NFL is an entertainment business. I believe that's what they're licensed under. I don't think they're technically a sport. But yeah, it's an entertainment industry. So you want to try and drive clicks, drive engagement. I'm sure Woody Johnson loves it. I'm sure the NFL loves it. I'm sure the Green Bay Packers love it. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers loves it. It helps literally everyone across the board, except for us fans that are losing our collective goddamn minds. But I do think I think it makes sense. Chris says, you should do a 24-hour stream with Sauce. He could definitely come on. No problem. Absolutely. I just don't think he will. I've tried reaching out to him a few times. He doesn't respond. B. Lopez, do you think Brandon Marshall will join Aaron Rodgers to the Jets? Could you imagine that? That would be wacky as hell. Brandon Marshall looks ripped, though. He looks like he could still play football. Bacon, will Brees be ready 100% by week 1? I think they're going to IR him for a little bit. I think that's where they go. I think they maybe put him on lockdown for like the first 4 weeks of the season. Whodat says, better worry about winning the division first. Yeah, of course. But if you sign Aaron Rodgers, your expectation is Super Bowl. Regardless of where you finish in the playoff seeding, you need to, win your division first. You want to obviously get out of your division, get the home game, but the goal is Super Bowl, not just winning the division with Aaron Rodgers. Mitch says, my last mock trade, Jermaine Johnson, a second round and a conditional 2025 pick for Aaron Rodgers and Jake Hansen. I'm not trading Jermaine Johnson. I don't think you need to. C. Watson 9 just subscribed to the channel yesterday and is now... sorry, it was Gary S. My bad. I jumped the gun. Clicked on the wrong one. Boom! Gary S., thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel! Much appreciated. You got some cool emojis in there. Make sure you drop those in there. And we are one step closer to that 24-hour stream. C. Watson did come in. He's one of our newer subscribers. Says, Lawrence Taylor and Mark Gastineau was the two best, including Reggie White. Talking about the defensive linemen. Love it. I wish I was able to see them. I didn't get to see any of them play. Andrew says, all time doesn't mean how long you were there. It's you were one of the best at your position while you were there, and he was one of the best receivers we've ever had. So I'd say he is an all-time Jet great. Yeah, I completely agree. That's where I fall on this. I think you can have an all-time great season and be an all-time great Jet without taking anything away from the other all-time great Jets. So this is good. Sion Roberts says, Kotri had a bigger impact than Brandon Marshall. David Tyree had a bigger impact than, I don't know, than a lot of other people. But that doesn't mean he's an all-time great. I love me some Jericho Kotri, but I think great moments and greatness can be two separate things as well. 9 minutes till that 12-12 mark. It can't happen, right? They're not going to do 12-12-12. And then he wears number 12. 8 minutes now. Let me be clear. I don't know there's anything dropping in 10 minutes. Like, at all. But, man, if they did 12-12 on March 12th for number 12, I'm going to lose my friggin' cool. It says Kotri's third down overtime catch while tearing his groin. That was an amazing catch. When he fell sideways, that was awesome. Marshall's great season that amounted to nothing. That's fair. I think you could say, the great moments from Kotri wound up being better than any moments from Brandon Marshall as far as impacting a season. Now, if you want to narrow it down even further, Kotri didn't win us a Super Bowl, right? So, if the ultimate goal is the peak of everything. I'm being facetious, but yeah, I see what you're saying there. Love me some Jericho Kotri. Duncan says, what's an unexpected positional pickup in the draft or free agency? Unexpected. Maybe kicker. If we didn't go Zerline, I don't think we go in the draft for a kicker, but I mean, maybe if we went someone other than Zerline, that might be a little surprising. I think everything else is pretty much squarely on the table. Edge rusher might be a little surprising for me. It's a sneaky maybe need for us, depending on what happens with Bryce Huff. So maybe edge rusher. I tend to believe defensive tackle should be had as well. That may be surprising for some people, but I think that's in the conversation too. Yankee Jet, thank you for becoming a member of the channel, dude. One more person closer to a 24-hour stream. That's what we'll do. I'll make a member number that we have to hit, and once we hit that, then we'll go to the 24-hour stream. I'll organize that. I'll get a bunch of guests, and we'll do something fun along those lines. Anthony said maybe he didn't set his clock 1 hour ahead, so maybe he'll announce it at 1:12. Don't do that to me. Now am I going to have to hang around? Actually, it's not 12:12 in California. It's 12:12 here. Maybe he announces it at 3:12, or maybe it's 4:12 because he didn't set his clock forward. Oh, man. Now I'm, disappointed. Now I don't know what to think. What should we do about punter? I don't care. Perfectly honest, I don't care. I don't really care if it's Braden Mann or not. Joe, what's up, Atlanta Jet fan? He says, question. Ayo, I heard something about he might be signed on the 17th. I just tagged you in a tweet. St. Rodgers Day. Yeah, I've seen that. Unless he just announces it, then I don't think there's any truth to the needing to. Holy smokes, you guys are joining the memberships. You guys are gonna get me to the 24-hour stream, aren't you? Josh T becomes a member of the channel. Thank you so much, and we also get our other buddy in there loading Max1234. Thank you guys so much for becoming members of the channel. Oh man, King Lowski also becoming a member of the channel. We got 3 right in a row. Man, you guys are cool. Thank you for that. It only costs $2 if you feel like doing it. If you don't, that's okay too. Just throwing a like on the page is more than enough for me. But thank you guys. It's always greatly appreciated. Sion Roberts says, great Jet, great person, great story. Yeah, I think you can say... I think Kotri for me had great moments as a Jet. I don't know if I would necessarily put him as a great Jet. The same way I sort of think about maybe Marshall with the statistics he had that one year. I think it's probably splitting hairs though. Yeah! Dandro! What's up, dude? Thank you for joining the channel. Bam! Throw that up on the screen. Boom! Oh, this makes me get excited. Thank you guys. All you guys that are joining the channel, you get some cool emojis down below. And then we'll do some cool member only chats too. I posted the freeze animation from the Talking Jets panel to the member exclusive page, so you guys knew about it ahead of time. You guys get some stuff. I'm not great at doing the member exclusive posts, but we'll kick up the member exclusive mock drafts. We tend to do that after free agency kicks in anyway. We usually do the 10 o'clock mock after the Talking Jets panel, so we switch to the members only at that point. Everaldo! Roshan Josie. Thank you so much for joining the channel. And Christopher Ayata becoming a member of the channel. Thank you, dude. Jesus says, how much love will I get if I become a member? You'll get a lot of self-love. A whole lot of self-love. Just like Aaron Rodgers told you. And you guys get your member super chat. And if you become a member, if you send in your member super chat during the Talking Jets panel, you get one of those ice moments. You just have to let me know what it is during in the actual super chat, because that way I'm not looking through all the different things that pop up. So there's Christopher. Christopher became a member. Gary becomes a member of the channel too. Yeah! I love it. Thank you guys. Chris KV drops it with a super chat. He says, if there's anything I believe in as a Jets fan, it's Joe Douglas's ability to make moves to improve this team. Trust the process. Rodgers will be a New York Jet by this time next week. I completely agree. I trust in Joe Douglas. I really do. I know people give him a little bit of shit for that first year, but I really think when you look at the whole, landscape and you say, okay, there's the J-Boy became a member of the channel. Thank you, J-Boy. Much appreciated. So cool. So cool. Thank you for that. Let me just throw that back up there. Chris KV. Yeah, I think you got to trust the process. I like everything that happens with Joe Douglas that he's done. I like his waiver wire pickups. I like his trade compensation. I like the contracts that he's given out. I like the majority of his draft picks outside of the Adam Gase year. I think this is absolutely awesome. I'm a big fan of Joe Douglas. You guys know that, though. Everaldo! Welcome to the channel! I blew up Belichick just for you. Thank you so much, dude. Really means a lot. And we got Joe S. Joe S. becomes a member again of the channel. Thank you. We've got over 800 people in this live stream right now, and Phil Adams points out 800 folks giving some self-love. I love it. 800 folks self-loving together is a whole different kind of channel. Yeah, it might have to be like I don't know how to make a Jets joke out of that. It's just kind of funny. Not Your Age Show with Jordan Charles says, Joe Douglas is the best GM the Jets have ever had. I tend to agree. I really think Joe Douglas is the best Jets GM that I've ever seen, at least. And especially since, I grew up watching the Jets starting in, 95. And I'm not going to say I knew the ins and outs of football at that point. But that's right when the salary cap was implemented. And I think GMs now that had to deal with the salary cap have an extra level of hurdle that they're dealing with. In comparison, and then the rookie salary cap structure changes everything as well. I think Douglas is awesome. I've really loved it. Flight Right 49 becomes a member of the channel. Hey, love it, Joe Cersei. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Thank you. Becomes a member of the channel. This channel is brought to you in part by people like you. You guys keep the lights on around here. Who knows? Maybe if we get enough, I'll be able to do this full time. But yeah, we'll do a 24-hour stream. We get enough members. I'll create a goal. I have to make a goal for it. I had a number in mind that I wanted to hit just so it would get me. Because if we get to enough members and it's like a $2 commitment, I guess it's a weird sort of thing, right? I don't know. I like seeing all the emojis that pop up in the chat. That makes me happy. Seeing all the JETS. Drop some JETS in the chat. All you guys that are new members in there. Let's do it. Radams Prime says, you sounded like Fat Albert. Yeah, oh well. Sorry about that. Cody says JD is good at handling the cap. Yeah, we haven't really been stressed to that point yet, right? Like you have that moment where you need to start retaining your own free agents. So Quinnen Williams, that's going to be the first really big contract that Joe Douglas is going to have to try and put in. There goes those JETS. I love it. Love it. I do switch those emojis out a little bit throughout the year. I'm going to try and get better at that in the summer months. I'm going to try and set it up for the entire year. But like for Patriots week, though, some of the emojis change to like FUCK Pats. so you can drop those in there. I have fun with it. I try not to keep them, I try not to get it stale. Cersei said, joined at 12:12 just for you, Ryan. I love it. It's a shame we didn't hear anything about Aaron Rodgers at 12:12, but like people said, maybe there's a situation where he didn't set his clock forward, and maybe he's going to find out at 12:12 in an hour, or maybe he's on West Coast time and it's 3 hours from now. Either way, I greatly appreciate it. I know it takes a lot to commit to that, and I very much appreciate you doing that. It means a lot, really does. Oh, we got Christian Curtis becoming a member of the channel too. Christian Curtis and RC3, members of the channel, boys and girls. Oh, I love it. I love it. This is fun. Getting closer to that 24-hour stream. It's not going to be a 24-hour stream today. Let me be clear on that. I'm not doing a 24-hour stream today. I'm going to plan it with guests and a whole other stuff once we hit that point. But when that does eventually happen, we'll make a little bit bigger deal of it because I want to actually announce that I want to do something like that. But yeah, we'll plan on it. Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. Pierre Thomas says, just hears Graziano on the radio say it's possible there's a secret team we don't know about, but he is surprised there aren't any leaks at all about it. I'm getting a little nervous, man. I think they're just trying to stir controversy. This guy's going to be a New York Jet. I would be very, very surprised if any other team came in here, unless the Jets absolutely lowball the shit out of the Packers and they're like, screw it, we're going to open up to the NFC. Then you get the situation where it's like, okay, Washington becomes an option. The 49ers become an option. The Falcons become an option. I don't think the Bucs will become an option, but you get what I'm saying. The longer this drags on, the more nervous I get. Anthony says, will the Jets get most primetime games? Last year, I think the Packers had 5 primetime games, and I think the Broncos had 5 or 6. So if you think getting the quarterback gets you the primetime games, which I do think it does, not to mention the star power the Jets have, I think this is lining up where we get Rodgers, you have Hard Knocks come in, you get the Quinnen Williams drama that goes on with the contract and whatnot, and then you roll into the season with a bunch of primetime games. It's going to be money, absolute money. If the Jets are any decent next year, it's going to be an absolute awesome time to be a Jet fan. Abysmal. Bro, you're still on. LOL, I swear. The past few days, every time I open YouTube, you're live. All us Jet fans appreciate your hustle. I, can't keep talking to my wife about Aaron Rodgers. She's like, you need to shut up. You need to just, go into your office. Stay away. I'm like, I know. I can't be productive. I'm not being productive while this Aaron Rodgers stuff is hanging over my head. Loading Max. Membership is back. He's got the gold jet. So he has been here before. It's not a brand new member. I love it. I love it. Lewis B., who are your starters day one for linebacker department? I think as far as the linebackers go, CJ Mosley is going to be here. I would like to see Quincy Williams retained, and then I would like to draft a guy. I know Tigo was talking about possibly going after Tremaine Edmonds. That would be interesting. I like the idea of stealing a division rivals player from them. Ryan Fitzgerald! Thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel. Drop some JETS. I got to use my soundboard a little bit more. What else I got in here?
Can't wait. Can't wait. Can't wait. Can't wait.
Till Aaron Rodgers is a goddamn New York Jet. Those people that think we're going to have to give up a first-round pick.
The guy's an idiot.
Yeah. not going to give up the first round pick. We're going to get him for a second. It's just going to happen. Oh, I got to play with more of those little drops more frequently. I kind of forget about them. Can't wait. J-Boy says, my wife said the same thing. Yeah, like, stop talking about Aaron Rodgers and focus on me. It's like, I'm sorry, all I'm envisioning is Aaron Rodgers. Hunter's the same way. Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat. Arizona Jet says, we need a safety. Yeah, I think that's why we signed Clark or traded for Clark. I think it sort of hides the fact that we need a safety, and I think we will draft one in the upcoming draft. I would like to bring in Jimmy Ward as well. John says, wish Rodgers would make a decision. If he's coming to the Jets already, I can't take it anymore. You know that picture of Randy Marsh sitting at the computer desk, and he's like, ugh. And there's a substance all over his computer. I think that's going to be the collective group of Jet fans' computers when this news finally drops, assuming it's the good news we all want in there. Let's see. Diano Salgado, thank you so much for the super chat, brother. I didn't see anything attached to it, so if you want to drop your comment in there, as long as I see it, I'll throw it up on the screen for you. Sometimes when people put in their first super chat, they don't necessarily realize that you can enter a comment and then super chat. So if I see it in there, I'll throw it on the screen. But either way, thank you very much. All the same. What did I see in here? C. Watson said, I loved the Jets fan when you draft. Well, when the draft was in New York, they were fun to watch. Yeah, it was funny because you get so many Jet fans just upset about stuff. It was great. I do miss that little bit of it. I wish it was still in New York. I like that it's bouncing around though. I'm usually just streaming for it anyway. Too much fun. The draft stream is a blast. Chris says, even if we give up the first pick, Aaron brings other guys who want to play with him on cheaper deals. I'm okay with giving up the number one. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I've sort of fallen on things anyway. Like if you're willing to go all in on a Super Bowl and you were thinking maybe you'd be trading down from the first pick anyway, you know, maybe you don't care so much. I just think since the Jets don't appear to have any other competition for Aaron Rodgers, there's no reason for me to offer the number, 13 overall pick. I think you can avoid that. Jets forever. Losing sleep over Rodgers is ridiculous. Oh, sorry. That's where I'm at. There's a reason I'm a fanatic. I'm sure there's a lot of you guys. We had like 600 people in like the 1 a.m. stream last night. Like absolutely ridiculous. You guys are all feeling the same way. I love it. Ryan must have his own private jet. He has the goggles. Fun fact, my dad was a pilot for a little bit there, and we did have a tiny, no, I shouldn't say tiny, but like a 4-person plane for a little bit there. I never learned how to fly it, but that was pretty cool. That was awesome. That was really neat. Would love to learn how to fly. I wanted to learn how to get my gliding license. That'd be kind of, like when I was younger, when I was like 15, 16. But I would love to own my private jet. Fly us all out to games. Jet Up Buttercup becomes a member of the channel. Thank you so much, Jet Up Buttercup. Oh, we get Tigo. Tigo dropping his membership in the chat. Boom. Thank you so much, Tigo. And Jet Up Buttercup. There's Tigo's JETS. Have some fun in the chat. Ryan Fitzgerald says, my wife told me, damn it, just sub already. He's practically part of the family. Oh, well, I appreciate it, dude. Thank you so much for joining. Let's see. I saw something in here I wanted to click on. I don't remember which one it was. Let me find it. There it is. TXDZNY. Don't be a stranger to football's future, Ryan. We love when you randomly pop in. I'm the mod for the Jets. So yeah, I used to be on Football's Future a lot. I was in there for like 10 or maybe even, I don't know if it was 15 years, but it was like 10 years. I was on the old website. Then they switched to like a new user interface, so I lost all my post history, and I don't really like the clunkiness that it was initially. I don't know what it's like now. I haven't been there in a few years, consistently at least. Every now and then I'll pop in. I've been spending a lot of time here doing stuff like that and hanging out with the Jet Nation crew as well. Look at that, Charles coming in saying 800 people, but only 200 likes. Oh, we got 340 likes. We got a bunch of likes in here. I'm a fan. J-Boy drops in and says, you going to the Hall of Fame game? It will be my first time I go to an NFL game. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go to the game. I'm really kicking myself. Me and three other couples, Becca, me, and three other couples, planned a trip to Ireland last summer for the first week of August for this year. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it. So I'll be in Ireland for the Hall of Fame ceremony. So if any of you Irish people out there that are Jet fans and you want to hang out, maybe watch something over there with the Hall of Fame. Maybe we'll do something, maybe some kind of meetup or something along those lines. That would be kind of fun. Jersey dude, you're an MVP becoming a member of the channel. Drop some JETS in the chat. Thank you very much. I love it. I love it. Manny says, hey, Ryan, thoughts on an Aaron Rodgers potentially just being a 1-year rental? I think it's entirely possible that it's a 1-year rental, which is why the trade compensation is going to be a conditional pick in 2024. I think they're going to give him a deadline. You know, maybe it's before free agency or before the draft or something like that, where if he's on the roster still, they'll push back his roster bonus that he's supposed to get like 5 days after the Super Bowl. They'll push that back and give him an opportunity to decide if he wants to continue playing, because I think that's his leverage, right? He says, I'm going to be on 1 year, 1 year until I decide I don't want to do it anymore. So I don't know. 1-year rental, I'm fine with it, because I don't think the dead cap hit is too bad, and we're not going to give up picks that are guaranteed in the next year unless he is actually on the roster. Pierre Thomas says, all the Zach Wilson truthers will enjoy the Hall of Fame game. Yeah, I can't imagine that. I can't imagine Rodgers plays. I can't imagine a lot of starters play. I guess it's good that you get 4 preseason games maybe in a new offensive system that you hope everyone gets dialed in for. It seems like the best kept secret or worst kept secret is the Jets getting Hard Knocks. I mean, you got the Hall of Fame, you got everything going on. HBO is going to have a field day with everything going on. I absolutely love it. Loading Mannix. You heard the people. 24-hour stream. 24/7 stream. I could 24/7 stream. Man, I'd be exhausted. But yeah, 24-hour stream. We could do that. I'd probably plan to do it if we were like either the Jets bye week in season, so we could watch some other football games, get some scouting reports on some of those other players. Odell Beckham Jr. If that is you, welcome to the channel. If not, that's okay too. Either way, proud you're here. But yeah, 24/7 stream. I would love to do it like if in conjunction with like a London game. So you got the 9 o'clock game, you got the 1 o'clock game, the 4 o'clock game, the 8 o'clock game, and then you have from like basically midnight to like 9 in the morning to try and figure it all out. But that's something we've been talking about. Vincent Percone, where do you get those Jets emojis? Vincent, there's a little below this video, you'll see a little blue join button. That's for people who have decided they want to pay $2 a month. You could pay $5 or $10 or whatever, however you feel like supporting the channel if you'd like. But as a thank you, you get those little emojis that I swap out throughout the year. So if you want to do that, that's how you get them. Hey, what's up? Let's see what's going on. We were supposed to go to our friend's house before, so they are going to do a little FaceTime action over there. Arizona Jet says, destroy the Pats both games. Bill is gonna be crying. Oh man, I want to beat the Patriots so bad. So bad. So bad. Ryan Fitzgerald says 24/7 on day one of the draft or Hard Knocks watch party. Ooh, yeah, we could totally do a Hard Knocks watch party. I don't know if I'm able to show it without like them yanking the entire thing off. They might get really mad because that's a subscription-based thing. Jackie, welcome aboard. I'll be your pilot today. Digo says, you put it on a day my wife is off and I will carry you in Warzone for a few hours, Ryan. Dude, I could play some Warzone. Love me some Warzone. I love the freeze bean emoji. I don't know, I guess I shouldn't swap out the freeze bean emoji, but freeze bean does no longer freeze bean. So it's not quite as accurate as it once was. Joe S. says, Ryan, I bet Becca would be the happiest when Rodgers. Good choice of words. Hunter says, I'm getting a 6-pack when they announce this shit to celebrate. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I got some happy beers downstairs, so when that happens, I will absolutely be going live. But let's do a little recap here with where we stand as of today. I'm at the almost 2-hour mark. So let's go. Let's see. Yeah, I'll wrap it up right here. And then, all right. So Aaron Rodgers had that interview with Brandon Marshall. If you guys want to hear the comments and breakdowns that we talked about for that particular interview, it's at the beginning of this live stream. If you click back at the beginning of it, you'll see the whole interview that we watched, as well as the thoughts that everyone was kind of saying in the chat and what I had to say about it. So I don't believe that Aaron Rodgers is necessarily only going to be locked in for 1 year. I think it's him committing to 1 year at a time, like he's been committing to 1 year at a time with the Packers the last few years. So I do think you can get him for these next 2 years. I think there's a very good chance that you get him for the next 2 years. As far as there being a time limit, I'm hoping that's by the start of the tampering period tomorrow. And if not, I'll go live when it happens. So we'll wind up seeing how it goes. The live chat, the poll question, is Brandon Marshall an all-time Jet? 65% of you say yes, 34% of you say no. But either way, boys and girls, I had a lot of fun talking with you. I'll hop on. If any news drops about the New York Jets, I'll plan to hop on and talk a little bit with you guys. Manny Romano! Thank you for becoming a member of the channel, brother. Always, always, always appreciated. But boys and girls, that's going to be it for me for right now. As news drops, we will come on and do stuff. But dude, I'm all sorts of amped up. I'm going to lose my ever-loving mind when this news drops. I cannot wait. Please, please, please. Just let it be the right thing. Boys and girls, drop some JETS in the chat on your way out. Gotta come back live tonight, says Connecticut Jets fan. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. We'll see. I've been getting amped up, so maybe we'll hop on tonight. Maybe they announce it. All right, boys and girls, it's been fun. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS!
I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your backs are against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Under pressure. Sacked by Quentin Williams. Right sideline, Usama's got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like get like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life to breathe in the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.